Hello everyone. Welcome to Power of Learning. Today, we will be interpreting the book Make Time, which is written by Jake Knapp and John Zeratsky, that offers practical advice on how to manage time more effectively and focus on what truly matters. The book is divided into 4 main sections, each with several chapters, so let's begin. Part 1, Highlight. Chapter 1. The Problem with Busy. The authors begin by pointing out the negative consequences of being constantly busy. They argue that the constant state of busyness that many people experience today can lead to stress, anxiety, and a lack of fulfillment. Despite the fact that we may feel productive and accomplished when we are busy, the authors suggest that being busy does not necessarily equate to being productive or successful. In fact, it can be a distraction that prevents us from achieving our goals. The root cause of the busy epidemic, the authors argue, is the abundance of distractions in our daily lives. Technology, social media, and the constant availability of information have made it difficult for us to focus on what truly matters. Instead, we spend our days reacting to the demands of others, rather than prioritizing our own goals and desires. This reactive mode of living can make us feel like we are constantly putting out fires, but it does not lead to a sense of fulfillment or accomplishment. To overcome the problem of busyness, the authors propose a new approach to time management. They suggest that we need to be more intentional with our time and focus on what they call highlights, the most important and meaningful activities that bring us joy and fulfillment. By prioritizing our highlights and minimizing distractions, we can create a more purposeful and fulfilling life. The authors also introduce the concept of time boxing, which involves setting aside a specific block of time for a particular task or activity. Time boxing allows us to focus our attention and energy on a specific task and prevents us from getting sidetracked by distractions. By breaking our day into time-box segments, we can ensure that we are making progress on our most important tasks, while still leaving time for rest and relaxation. Chapter 2. The Busy Bandwagon. In this chapter, authors Jake Knapp and John Zeratsky delve deeper into the cultural phenomenon of busyness and explore why so many people feel the need to be constantly busy. The chapter begins by examining the societal pressure to be busy. The authors argue that our culture values productivity and achievement above all else, and that being busy is often seen as a sign of success. They suggest that people feel pressure to be busy in order to fit in and be seen as successful. The authors also discuss the role of technology in perpetuating the busy culture. They argue that technology has made it easier for us to stay connected and productive, but it has also blurred the line between work and leisure time. As a result, many people feel like they are always on, and that they can never fully disconnect from work or other obligations. The chapter also explores the psychological factors that contribute to the busy culture. The authors suggest that many people use busyness as a way to avoid uncomfortable emotions or difficult decisions. By staying busy, they can avoid facing their fears or confronting the challenges in their lives. To combat the pressure to be busy, the authors suggest that we need to be more mindful about how we spend our time. They encourage readers to identify their true priorities and passions, and to focus their time and energy on those things that bring them the most joy and fulfillment. The authors also suggest that we need to be more intentional about our use of technology. They argue that we should be selective about the apps and tools we use, and that we should set boundaries around our use of technology to ensure that it does not interfere with our ability to focus on what truly matters. Finally, the authors stress the importance of taking breaks and finding ways to recharge. They argue that taking time to relax and recharge is essential for our physical and mental well-being, and that it can actually make us more productive in the long run. Chapter 3. Finding your highlight. The chapter begins by describing the concept of highlights. According to the authors, highlights are the activities that give us the most joy and fulfillment, and that make us feel like we are living our best lives. These activities can be anything from spending time with loved ones, to pursuing a creative hobby, to engaging in physical exercise. The authors argue that identifying our highlights is crucial to creating a life that is fulfilling and purposeful. By focusing our time and energy on the activities that bring us the most joy, we can create a sense of meaning and fulfillment in our lives, and avoid the feeling of being constantly busy but unfulfilled. To help readers identify their highlights, the authors provide a series of exercises and questions to ask themselves. They encourage readers to think about the activities that make them feel most alive and engaged, and to consider the activities that they have always wanted to pursue but have never had the time for. The authors also suggest that readers should prioritize their highlights by scheduling them into their day or week. They argue that by making time for the activities that bring us the most joy, we can ensure that we are living a life that is aligned with our true priorities and passions. The chapter also explores the concept of default highlights, which are the activities that we default to when we have free time or are feeling bored. The authors argue that default highlights can be a useful way to identify the activities that we find most enjoyable and fulfilling, but they can also become a barrier to exploring new activities and pursuing new passions. To combat the tendency to default to the same activities, the authors suggest that readers should challenge themselves to try new things and explore new interests. They argue that by stepping out of our comfort zones and trying new activities, we can expand our horizons and discover new highlights that we may not have otherwise considered. Part 2, Laser. Chapter 4. Laser versus Disco Mode. In this chapter, authors Jake Knapp and John Zeratsky introduce the concept of laser mode, which they contrast with disco mode, in order to help readers better focus their time and energy on the things that matter most. The chapter begins by describing disco mode, which is characterized by constant distraction and stimulation. In disco mode, people often find themselves constantly checking their phones, browsing the internet, and engaging in other activities that provide a quick burst of stimulation but ultimately leave them feeling unfulfilled. The authors argue that the prevalence of disco mode is a result of our culture's obsession with productivity and efficiency. We are constantly bombarded with messages that tell us we need to be doing more and working harder, which leads to a constant feeling of busyness and distraction. To combat the distractions of disco mode, the authors introduce the concept of laser mode, which is characterized by intense focus and concentration on a single task or activity. In laser mode, people are able to shut out distractions and focus their energy on the task at hand, which leads to a sense of accomplishment and fulfillment. The authors provide a number of strategies for achieving laser mode, including setting clear priorities, eliminating distractions, and establishing a regular routine. They suggest that readers should identify the most important tasks or activities in their lives and focus their energy on those, while eliminating distractions such as social media or email notifications that can pull them away from their work. The chapter also emphasizes the importance of taking breaks and allowing for periods of rest and relaxation. The authors argue that taking breaks and allowing the mind to rest is essential for maintaining focus and concentration, and that people who are able to balance periods of intense focus with periods of rest and relaxation are ultimately more productive and fulfilled. Chapter 5. Schedule your highlight. In this chapter, authors Jake Knapp and John Zeratsky discuss the importance of scheduling time for the activities that bring us the most joy and fulfillment, which they refer to as our highlights. The chapter begins by acknowledging that many people feel like they don't have enough time in their day to accomplish everything they need to do. The authors argue, however, that by prioritizing our highlights and scheduling time for them, we can create a sense of balance and fulfillment in our lives. The authors provide a number of strategies for scheduling our highlights, including creating a highlight reel that lists our most important activities, scheduling our highlights at the same time every day or week, and making our highlights a non-negotiable part of our schedule. The authors also emphasize the importance of being intentional about how we spend our time. They argue that too often, people fill their schedules with activities that are not aligned with their true priorities and passions, which can lead to a sense of emptiness and unfulfillment. To help readers become more intentional about their time, the authors suggest that readers should create a time budget that outlines how they want to spend their time each day or week. This budget can include time for work, personal obligations, and our highlights, which should be given a high priority. The chapter also discusses the importance of taking breaks and allowing for periods of rest and relaxation. The authors argue that scheduling time for breaks and relaxation is just as important as scheduling time for our highlights, as it allows us to recharge and refocus our energy. Finally, the authors emphasize the importance of being flexible and adaptable with our schedules. They acknowledge that life is unpredictable and that we may need to adjust our schedules to accommodate unexpected events or changes in our priorities. By remaining flexible and open to change, we can ensure that our schedules remain aligned with our true priorities and passions. Chapter 6. Hack your calendar. The chapter begins by acknowledging that our calendars can often feel overwhelming and out of our control. The authors argue, however, that by being intentional about how we use our calendars, we can create more time and space for the activities that bring us the most joy and fulfillment. One strategy the authors suggest is to create time buffers between appointments and meetings. These buffers can be used to prepare for the next appointment, reflect on the previous one, or simply take a moment to relax and recharge. By intentionally scheduling time between appointments, we can create a sense of space and control in our day. Another strategy the authors discuss is the use of theme days. Theme days are days of the week that are dedicated to a specific type of activity, such as meeting day or creative day. By grouping similar tasks together on specific days, we can minimize the cognitive load of constantly switching between different types of tasks. The authors also suggest using a visual calendar, such as a whiteboard or large paper calendar, to help us visualize our schedule and create a sense of control over our time. This can be especially helpful for people who feel overwhelmed by digital calendars or who prefer a more tactile approach. Finally, the authors emphasize the importance of being realistic about our schedules and not overloading ourselves with too many tasks or appointments. They suggest that readers should be intentional about how they schedule their time and prioritize the activities that bring them the most joy and fulfillment. Chapter 7. Design Your Day. The chapter begins by acknowledging that many people feel like they are stuck in a rut, going through the same routine day after day without feeling a sense of purpose or fulfillment. The authors argue, however, that by intentionally designing our days, we can create a sense of control and meaning in our lives. To help readers design their days, the authors suggest starting with a daily highlight. The daily highlight is a single activity or task that is the most important and fulfilling thing you can do each day. By identifying and prioritizing our daily highlight, we can ensure that we are always making time for the things that matter most. The authors also discuss the importance of creating a morning routine that sets the tone for the rest of the day. They suggest incorporating activities that help us feel energized and focused, such as exercise, meditation, or journaling. Another key element of designing our days is incorporating periods of rest and relaxation. The authors argue that taking breaks throughout the day can actually increase our productivity and creativity by allowing our brains to recharge. The authors also discuss the importance of being intentional about how we use technology throughout the day. They suggest setting boundaries around our use of devices, such as turning off notifications during certain times of the day, to prevent distractions and maintain focus. Finally, the authors emphasize the importance of being flexible and adaptable with our daily routines. They acknowledge that life is unpredictable and that we may need to adjust our routines to accommodate unexpected events or changes in our priorities. By remaining open to change and willing to experiment with different routines, we can ensure that we are always designing our days in a way that supports our true priorities and passions. Part 3. Energize. Chapter 8. Sharpen Your Mind. The chapter begins by acknowledging that our ability to think clearly and stay focused can be impacted by a variety of factors, including stress, lack of sleep, and information overload. The authors argue, however, that by taking care of our minds and bodies, we can improve our cognitive performance and stay focused and productive. One key strategy the authors discuss is the importance of getting enough sleep. They argue that sleep is essential for cognitive performance and that getting enough rest can improve our ability to focus, learn, and remember information. They also suggest setting a consistent sleep schedule and creating a relaxing bedtime routine to help improve the quality of our sleep. The authors also discuss the importance of exercise for cognitive performance. They suggest incorporating regular physical activity into our daily routine, such as going for a walk or doing yoga, to improve our focus and productivity. Another key strategy the authors suggest is taking breaks throughout the day to recharge our minds. They suggest using the Pomodoro technique, which involves working for 25 minutes and then taking a 5-minute break, as a way to maintain focus and productivity throughout the day. The authors also discuss the importance of minimizing distractions and staying focused on our priorities. They suggest turning off notifications on our devices, avoiding multitasking, and using tools such as noise-canceling headphones to minimize distractions and stay focused. Finally, the authors suggest incorporating activities that challenge and stimulate our minds, such as reading, learning a new skill, or practicing a musical instrument. By engaging in activities that challenge us and stimulate our brains, we can improve our cognitive performance and maintain mental sharpness. Chapter 9. Make it fun. In this chapter, authors Jake Knapp and John Zeratsky discuss the importance of incorporating fun and play into our daily lives in order to boost creativity, motivation, and overall happiness. The chapter begins by acknowledging that many people view work and play as separate, mutually exclusive activities. The authors argue, however, that by incorporating elements of play and fun into our work, we can actually boost our productivity and creativity. One key strategy the authors suggest is incorporating small, fun elements into our daily routines. For example, they suggest creating a fun list of activities we enjoy, such as listening to music or watching a funny video, and incorporating those activities into our work breaks. The authors also suggest using gamification as a way to make tasks more fun and engaging. They suggest creating a scoreboard to track progress on a task or project, or turning a task into a game with specific goals and rewards. Another key element of making work more fun is incorporating social connections. The authors suggest working with a friend or colleague on a task, or incorporating social activities such as team building exercises or happy hours. The authors also discuss the importance of finding joy in the process of work, rather than solely focusing on the end result. They suggest focusing on the small successes and moments of joy that come with completing a task, rather than just the end result. Finally, the authors emphasize the importance of play outside of work as well. They suggest incorporating hobbies and activities that bring us joy and fulfillment into our daily routines, and making time for play and relaxation outside of work. Chapter 10. Get moving. The chapter begins by acknowledging the negative effects of prolonged sitting and a sedentary lifestyle on our health, including an increased risk of obesity, heart disease, and other health problems. The authors argue that incorporating more movement into our daily lives can help counteract these negative effects and improve our overall health. One key strategy the authors suggest is incorporating more movement into our daily routines. They suggest taking frequent breaks to stand up and stretch, incorporating walking or biking into our commutes, and using tools such as standing desks or stability balls to promote movement while working. The authors also suggest incorporating more structured exercise into our daily routines. They suggest finding physical activities we enjoy, such as running or swimming, and making them a regular part of our routine. Another key strategy the authors discuss is the importance of prioritizing physical activity and movement in our daily schedules. They suggest scheduling regular exercise and movement breaks into our calendars, treating them as non-negotiable appointments. The authors also discuss the importance of finding physical activities that we enjoy, as well as incorporating variety into our exercise routines to prevent boredom and burnout. They suggest trying new activities such as dance classes or martial arts to keep things interesting and engaging. Finally, the authors emphasize the importance of rest and recovery as part of a balanced approach to physical activity. They suggest incorporating rest days into our exercise routines, as well as incorporating activities such as stretching and yoga to promote recovery and relaxation. Chapter 11. Fuel your fire. The chapter begins by highlighting the significance of identifying the specific factors that fuel our energy levels. By understanding what activities or practices make us feel more energized and motivated, we can incorporate these elements into our daily routines. The authors suggest that one way to identify these factors is to pay attention to our daily patterns and reflect on what activities we enjoy the most and what makes us feel the most fulfilled. Once we have identified what fuels our energy, the next step is to manage it effectively. The authors suggest that one way to do this is to take regular breaks throughout the day. By taking short breaks, we allow ourselves to recharge and refocus, which can lead to increased productivity and creativity. The authors also recommend practicing mindfulness as a way to manage energy levels. By engaging in activities that promote mindfulness, such as meditation or yoga, we can reduce stress levels and maintain a sense of calm throughout the day. Another strategy for managing energy levels is to engage in activities that bring us joy and fulfillment. This can include hobbies or creative pursuits that allow us to express ourselves and tap into our natural creativity. By engaging in these types of activities, we can improve our mood and overall well-being, which can help sustain our energy levels throughout the day. In addition to managing energy levels, the authors stress the importance of setting boundaries and creating a schedule that allows for regular periods of rest. They suggest that by creating a schedule that prioritizes rest and downtime, we can prevent burnout and maintain energy levels over the long term. This may mean setting limits on work hours or scheduling regular breaks throughout the day. Finally, the chapter emphasizes the importance of prioritizing activities that contribute to our sense of purpose and meaning. By identifying what matters most to us and focusing our energy on these activities, we can feel more fulfilled and motivated in our daily lives. This may mean aligning our work with our values or engaging in volunteer work or other activities that contribute to our community. Part 4. Reflect. Chapter 12. Reflect on your day. The authors suggest that by taking time to reflect on our experiences, we can gain clarity about our values, priorities, and goals. Reflection also helps us identify areas where we may be falling short and allows us to make adjustments and course corrections as needed. To facilitate reflection, the authors suggest several strategies, including journaling, meditation, and simply taking time to think. Journaling is a particularly effective strategy for reflection, as it allows us to capture our thoughts and feelings on paper and revisit them later. By writing down our experiences and observations, we can gain deeper insights into our daily routines and identify areas where we may need to make changes. The authors also emphasize the importance of being honest and objective when reflecting on our day. This may mean acknowledging our mistakes and shortcomings, as well as celebrating our successes and achievements. By being honest and objective, we can gain a more accurate understanding of our daily experiences and use this information to make meaningful changes in our lives. Another key strategy for reflection is setting goals and tracking progress. By setting specific, measurable goals and tracking our progress, we can gain a sense of accomplishment and motivation. This can be particularly effective when combined with reflection, as we can use our daily reflections to assess our progress and make adjustments as needed. In addition to these strategies, the authors suggest that it is important to reflect on our day in the context of our overall values and priorities. By aligning our daily experiences with our long-term goals and values, we can create a more meaningful and fulfilling life. This may mean making adjustments to our daily routines or making larger changes in our lives to better align with our values and priorities. Chapter 13. Make time for what matters. The chapter begins by emphasizing the importance of defining what truly matters to us. The authors, Jake Knapp and John Zeratsky, suggest that by clarifying our values and priorities, we can more easily identify the things that are most important to us and make intentional choices about how we spend our time. To help readers define what matters to them, the authors provide a series of exercises and questions to consider. For example, readers are encouraged to reflect on their highlight reel, or the moments in their lives that they are most proud of or most enjoyed. They are also encouraged to consider their default diary, or the activities and commitments that take up the majority of their time. Once readers have identified what truly matters to them, the authors suggest several strategies for making time for these things. One of the key strategies is to set boundaries and say no to things that are not aligned with our values and priorities. This may mean turning down social invitations or declining additional work commitments. Another important strategy is to create routines and habits that support our values and priorities. For example, if exercise is important to us, we can establish a regular exercise routine that fits into our schedule. By making our values and priorities a consistent part of our daily routine, we are more likely to stick with them over time. The authors also suggest being intentional about how we use our hidden time, or the small pockets of time that we may not always recognize as opportunities for meaningful activities. This may include using our commute time to listen to educational podcasts or audiobooks, or using our lunch break to connect with friends or pursue a hobby. Finally, the authors emphasize the importance of taking breaks and allowing ourselves to recharge. By taking regular breaks and engaging in activities that bring us joy, we can improve our productivity and creativity in other areas of our lives. Chapter 14. The Busy Person's Creed. The chapter begins by acknowledging the challenges of living in a world that often values busyness and productivity over well-being and fulfillment. The authors suggest that by embracing a set of core principles, we can create a more intentional and fulfilling approach to our busy lives. The first principle of the busy person's creed is to make time for what matters. This principle emphasizes the importance of prioritizing the things that are truly important to us and making intentional choices about how we spend our time. The second principle is to protect our attention. This principle acknowledges the many distractions and interruptions that can pull us away from our important work and emphasizes the importance of being intentional about how we use our attention. The third principle is to create energy, not just spend it. This principle encourages readers to prioritize activities that recharge and energize them, rather than simply trying to power through their busy lives. The fourth principle is to hack your motivation. This principle acknowledges that motivation is a finite resource and suggests several strategies for maintaining motivation over the long term, such as setting achievable goals and creating a supportive environment. The fifth and final principle is to be the boss of your phone. This principle acknowledges the powerful role that our smartphones can play in our lives and suggests several strategies for using our phones in a way that supports our values and priorities, rather than distracting us from them. Conclusion. Make Time offers practical, actionable advice for anyone looking to take control of their time and achieve their goals. By prioritizing our most important tasks, eliminating distractions, and incorporating movement and fun into our daily routines, we can improve our productivity, creativity, and overall well-being. The book serves as a valuable resource for anyone looking to optimize their time and achieve greater success in their personal and professional lives.